How are this week's energies supporting you? Well, there are a few ways that I'm seeing, about 3 in particular, and I'll share them with you now for your weekly transformational forecast. Hi, I'm Veronica Lee, and what I wanted to share with you first, the energies that were first showing up for me, was the energy around the top left side of the face, let's say that third eye, down across the side of the cheek, around the ear, and around the throat. So when I look at this from an intuitive standpoint, when I see this with particular clients, I often see that they're awakening their intuitive, their third eye, their intuitive knowing and seeing and hearing, and as it touches into the throat, this need to speak. Specifically, when I see it on the left side, it is related to our divine feminine, this receptivity. So what I'm seeing with the energies this week for us in general as a collective, and it probably pertains to you too specifically, is that a lot of information is really coming through for us to get insights into and for us to wake up to for ourselves. So to clarify what that might look like for you is maybe you've had these ahas, or maybe you're having this clear sense of knowing something without necessarily having the evidence to prove that thing that you just simply know. Claircognizance is one of the trickiest clair senses to have because it can feel or seem like a flash of a thought that's coming and going as quickly as your other thoughts. And you start to wonder, now, did I just think this? What was going on here? But there is more of an energetic frequency of knowing. And it'll just sort of hit you in a way that feels a little bit more in tuned. Now, it's really hard to explain because it's a practice and each person's so individual, but generally claircognizance is just like, I know what I know and I don't know how I know it. And the question is, are you trusting it? Now, the other piece it's coming down to in terms of this coming to the left side, the left ear, is there's that gift of clairaudience. Clairaudience is, what are you hearing, right? So it might be listening deeply. So for example, if you are in a meditative state, then don't try to discount whatever sounds are coming in, but maybe tune into them even more so. Oh, those are birds that I hear in the background. Or I'm noticing there's a buzzing in the air, and it's not necessarily physical, like the sound isn't physical, but it's this inner ear that's hearing this physical sensation, or it's experiencing it. And more importantly, to perhaps hear any messages that are trying to come through. And now the third part of that is this throat, right? And this ability to speak that which we are getting intuitively and hearing and be able to share that. So as you may or may not know, I typically tune into, get information, and then it essentially, just quickly processes, and then I'm able to voice it, right? And again, it takes practice. But what is it that you're receiving? What is it that you're getting intuitive insights about? What is it that you're hearing? And what is it that you want to speak? So that's one huge area of what's happening this week in our collective energetic, downloads and shifts. Let me feel into the others. So the other piece of it is around the third chakra, the solar plexus, and it really has a lot to do with that will center and that identity. Now, the hard part about this is sometimes we can get a little bit confused as to what is it that I'm supposed to do with this, these insights, right? And what I'm seeing energetically is that right now it's sort of like a sitting and being with, and allowing whatever this intuitive information that's coming to you, not just to be spoken in some way, but to be sort of anchored in your identity, in yourself. So perhaps what you're intuiting and hearing is that your next step is to work towards some form of self-empowerment, right? And if that's the case, who are you speaking that to, right? And do you have to go out and do something with it right now? No, not necessarily, but feeling into that in that will center and letting it just be and form you, right? And then the third energy has to do with what I'm seeing up and down the spine. And the spine in the back of us often indicates our past. And I'm specifically tuning into the lower part of the spine, which will often be our foundation. So what's happening for us collectively is this energy is coming in, bringing new information, wanting us to speak of it, to make some kind of statements, to use our voice for our truth, right? It doesn't have to be the truth or some universal truth. It's simply speaking our truth. And at the same time, as that is happening, anchoring into that will center and not necessarily doing anything, but more or less anchoring it into the I amness of you. And at the same time, the energies have a lot to do with releasing the past and specifically that foundational stuff. So maybe that belief in who you think you are and or the messages you received growing up that have to do with, what your parents thought you were or what your school thought you should be or, society's beliefs. So all those fundamental beliefs that are sort of holding you in place a bit. So that's the, energetic picture of what's happening for us this week and what you might be experiencing in terms of this information coming in. And one way to really process it and to let it continue to come through you is through speaking. So if this resonates, I'd love to hear back from you. Go ahead and leave a comment or send me an email. And in the next couple of days, my sense is you're going to experience some little shift. And again, in that foundational piece that I'm getting from the lower part of the back, some foundational shift of awareness and of sort of letting go of these old stories. Until next week, have a great rest of your week. And this is your weekly transformational forecast for January 31st, 2022. And I'm Veronica Lee.